All right, ready to jump into the world of IELTS.
I think what's really interesting about IELTS is that it's more than just an English test.
Yeah, it's kind of like a passport, right? To all sorts of opportunities, studying abroad, working in a new country, even migrating.
Exactly. Over 11,000 organizations around the world, big universities, employers, they all use IELTS scores to figure out how good your English is.
And we're not talking about a small number of people taking this thing.
No, no, not at all. Last year, get this, 3.5 million people took the IELTS, and it's only getting more popular.
So, listeners, today's deep dive is all about helping you succeed with IELTS. We've gone through tons of research, expert advice, you name it, to bring you the most important information.
Yeah, think actual strategies, proven techniques, all to help you hit that target score.
It's about working smart, not just, hard.
Absolutely. So to get us started, let's break down what this test actually is.
Okay, give me the rundown. What exactly are we dealing with here with the IELTS?
Well, IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System, and it's designed to see how well you do with English in four areas: listening, reading, writing, and speaking.
Four sections, all right. I'm assuming they each test different parts of your English skills.
Right. Each one looks at how good you are at using and understanding English in different situations, and they all count towards your overall score, which is called a band score, and goes from 1 to 9.
Okay, so what does like a band 6 mean compared to, say, a band 8 in terms of actual skills?
Hmm, good question. So a band 6, that basically means you can have everyday conversations and understand simple written stuff. You might make a few grammar mistakes, but you get your ideas across.
Makes sense. And a band 8.
A band 8. That shows you're pretty fluent and accurate. You can have complex discussions, understand tricky arguments in writing, and express yourself really well.
Wow, so there's a pretty big difference between those scores.
Yeah, for sure. That's why it's important to understand this whole band system. Helps you set realistic goals and prep in the right way.
All right, let's get into those four sections. What's the listening section all about? What should people expect?
Okay, so listening, you have half an hour, 30 minutes to answer 40 questions. And they're based on 4 recordings.
40 questions in 30 minutes. That's a lot.
Time management is key. The recordings have different topics and accents, kind of like real life.
So it's not just about understanding the words, but also how people say them.
Yeah, exactly. You might hear a chat at a coffee shop, a lecture at university, even a news report. You got to pick out the important info and answer it correctly.
Interesting. So it's like testing how you'd actually manage in an English-speaking environment.
Yeah, that's the idea. They want to see if you can understand spoken English in different situations.
That makes sense. What about reading? What are the challenges there?
Reading is all about how well you understand what you read. You'll get 3 long passages and a whole hour to do 40 questions.
3 long passages sounds like you need to be able to read quickly.
Definitely. You have to read fast,
Yeah.
but also take in the information and understand the nuances all at the same time.
What kind of stuff did these reading passages cover?
Oh, all sorts. History, science, social issues, current events, you name it. You might get something from an academic journal, a news article, even a piece of literature. The trick is being able to adjust to different writing styles and find the key information.
Being a flexible reader, basically. And what kind of questions did they ask about the passages?
They test your understanding in different ways. Some questions might ask for the main idea of the passage. Others might ask for specific details or what the author thinks about something.
Reading between the lines, huh?
Exactly. The reading section isn't just about the surface level. They want to see if you can critically analyze what you read.
Okay, got it. Let's move on to writing. What does that look like?
All right, the writing section is where you show how well you can write in English. Clear and effective writing. You have an hour to do 2 tasks.
2 tasks. Okay, sounds busy. What are they?
The first one, you have to summarize information presented visually, like a graph, chart, or diagram. You need to understand the data and write about it clearly and concisely.
So it's not just writing, but understanding visuals and turning that into writing.
Right. The second task is writing an essay based on a specific prompt. This is where you really get to show off your ability to make a well-organized argument and support it well.
Ah, the classic essay. What kind of topics do they usually give for these essays?
It can be anything, really. You might be asked to give your opinion on a social issue, come up with solutions to a problem, or weigh the pros and cons of something. The main thing is to build a clear argument using evidence and examples.
So having an opinion isn't enough, you got to be able to back it up.
Absolutely. The writing section is all about how well you can get your ideas across in writing. Being clear, organized, and using a good range of vocabulary is crucial.
All right, last but not least, the speaking section, the one that makes everyone nervous.
I know, right? But the speaking section is just about seeing how well you can communicate in spoken English.
So it's really about having a conversation in English.
That's it. It's 11 14-minute interview with a certified examiner face-to-face.
A real live examiner. No wonder people get nervous.
Yeah, it's understandable. But they're trained to help you feel comfortable and relaxed.
That's good to know. So what actually happens during this interview?
Well, it's broken down into 3 parts. First, there's a general introduction where they ask you basic questions about yourself, your interests, things like that, just to warm you up and get you comfortable talking.
Like breaking the ice.
Exactly. Then there's a longer speaking task. You'll get a topic card and 1 minute to think about it, and then you have to speak for 2 minutes about that topic.
What kind of topics did they give you?
Usually everyday stuff related to your experiences or opinions. You might have to describe your favorite place, talk about a memorable event, or discuss a current issue you care about.
So it's about speaking clearly and confidently about different things.
Right. And then the final part is a deeper discussion, but the topic from the second part. The examiner will ask follow-up questions, and you get to explain your ideas more and show you can have a conversation.
It sounds like they're seeing how well you can think on your feet and express your thoughts in English.
Exactly. The speaking section looks at your fluency, how well you connect your ideas, your vocabulary, grammar, and how you pronounce words.
So it's a pretty thorough test of your overall spoken English. You mentioned earlier that each of these 4 sections gets a separate score on that 9-band scale, and then they average those to get your overall band score.
You got it. So you got to do well in all 4, not just one.
Now that we've got the structure down, I'm curious about the challenges people often run into. What are some of the common things that trip people up?
Oh, there are definitely some tricky parts to the Ielts. It's known for being tough, and knowing what those common challenges are is, well, it's the first step to getting past them.
So let's hear it. What are those IELTS hurdles people need to watch out for?
I'd say one of the biggest ones is time management. You just don't have a lot of time in each section, and it can feel pretty intense, especially in reading and writing.
Yeah, it's like you're racing against the clock.
Exactly. And then you've got the challenge of difficult vocabulary. That's a big one, particularly in, like I said, reading and writing. Actually, one of the case studies we looked at, the student named Rahul, he really struggled with that.
What was Rahul's IELTS goal?
So Rahul wanted to study engineering in Canada. He was a smart guy, but the academic language they use in the writing section, that really tripped him up.
I can imagine. Unfamiliar words can throw you off completely. Did you find that being nervous about the speaking test was another common issue?
Oh, for sure. Even people who are generally confident speaking English, that face-to-face interview can make them anxious. We saw this with another student, Thushar.
What was Thushar's experience?
Thushar was actually really good at reading and writing, but the speaking test, that just stressed him out. He was worried about forgetting words, messing up the grammar, just freezing up in front of the examiner.
Yeah, I get that. It's like your mind goes blank when you're under pressure.
Exactly. And that kind of pressure can lead to another common mistake, which is misunderstanding the questions. When you're feeling rushed or nervous, it's easy to misread something or not get what they're asking.
Oh, I bet that can throw off your whole game.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then there are those pesky grammar and spelling errors, the ones that can sneak into your writing.
They always seem to pop up at the worst times.
Right. Especially in the writing and listening sections. Even small mistakes can affect your score.
Okay, so we've got time pressure, tough vocabulary, speaking anxiety, misreading questions, and those grammar gremlins. Sounds like a lot to handle. But I'm hoping you've got some advice on how to deal with all of this.
I do. And the good news is, with the right approach, you can overcome all of these challenges.
Okay, let's hear it. What are some expert tips for acing the IELTS in 2025?
First things first, get familiar with the test itself. The format, the kinds of questions they ask, the time limits for each section.
So the more you know about the test, the better.
Exactly. The less scary it will seem. And another thing that will make you feel prepared is having a solid study plan.
Break that down for me. What makes a good study plan?
Don't wait until the last minute and try to cram everything in. Instead, come up with a structured plan where you set aside time for each section, especially the ones you find harder. Consistency is key here.
So it's about steady practice over time, not just one big push.
Right. Even practicing a little bit each day can make a big difference.
I like that. Now, what about vocabulary? You mentioned that was a problem for Rahul. Any tips for learning new words effectively?
Yeah, definitely. Start with the academic word list. It's full of words that will help you get a higher score. And more generally, just try to immerse yourself in English as much as possible.
What do you mean by immerse yourself?
Read all kinds of things in English newspapers, novels, academic articles. Listen to podcasts, audiobooks, the news. The more vocabulary you're exposed to, the better.
Making English part of your everyday life, basically.
Exactly. And don't just passively read or listen, actively engage with the words. Look up new words, try to use them when you're writing and speaking. That's how you really learn them.
So the more you interact with the language, the more comfortable you'll become.
Exactly. And when it comes to the listening section, practice is everything. Listen to different accents and speeds of speech to challenge yourself.
Any specific recommendations for finding diverse listening materials?
Sure, try listening to BBC podcasts and speed them up to 1.5x speed. It's like a workout for your ears, and it'll help you get used to different ways of speaking.
A workout for your ears. I like that. What about the writing section? Any tips for those essays and summaries?
When it comes to writing, structure is super important. For essays, make sure you have a clear introduction, develop your ideas in well-organized paragraphs, and end with a strong conclusion. Oh, and don't forget about linking words.
Linking words, those are important, right?
Yeah, they help you connect your ideas smoothly, making your writing more coherent and easier to read. For the summary task, the main thing is to understand the data accurately and write about it in a clear, concise way.
Get to the point and present the information logically.
Yeah. Okay, now for the speaking section, the one that Thushar was so nervous about. Any advice on how to calm those pre-test nerves?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
The best thing you can do is practice, practice, practice. Record yourself speaking about common IELTS topics, and then listen back to see how fluent you are, how well you connect your ideas, and how good your pronunciation is. You can also practice with a friend or someone who speaks English to get used to that interview situation.
So just get comfortable speaking English out loud, even if it feels a bit awkward at first.
Exactly. The more you do it, the more confident you'll become.
Now, I know there are a lot of great online resources for IELTS prep. Are there any you'd recommend?
Definitely websites like IELTS, Liz, and the British Council have tons of free practice materials and tips. And then there are all these cool AI-driven apps and platforms.
Tell me more about those.
These tools are really changing the way people learn languages, and that includes IELTS Prep. They can analyze your speaking and writing in a way that a human tutor just can't. They can pick up on little pronunciation errors, see patterns in your grammar mistakes, even suggest vocabulary words you might be missing.
It's like having a super smart language tutor right there on your phone.
Yeah, and the best part is they can give you feedback instantly, which is super helpful.
So, using technology to help you learn more effectively. Now, what about focusing on high-frequency vocabulary? Is that still a good strategy?
Absolutely. Knowing common words and phrases is crucial for all 4 sections of the IELTS. It's like laying a strong foundation.
That makes sense. Any tips for learning those high-frequency words?
You could use flashcards, vocabulary apps, or even just make a list of words you come across while you're practicing and review them regularly. The most important thing is to make sure you understand what they mean and how to use them correctly in different situations.
So don't just memorize, understand.
Right. And don't forget, the IELTS is timed, so you have to practice working quickly.
Time management is key.
It is. Make sure you're timing yourself when you practice so you get used to the pressure and learn how to use your time wisely.
Any final words of advice before we wrap up this section?
I guess I'd say the most important thing is to stay calm and confident on test day. You've put in the work, you've practiced, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Just take some deep breaths, focus on the task in front of you, and believe in yourself.
Yeah, mindset is so important. You can know all the stuff and have all the skills, but if you get nervous, it can really mess you up.
Totally. Being confident makes a huge difference in how you do on the test. So be kind to yourself, celebrate what you've learned, and just picture yourself doing well.
I love that. All right, so we've covered a lot today. We talked about how the IELTS is structured, the challenges people face, and a bunch of strategies to help you succeed.
Yeah, we went through it all. And the main takeaway, I think, is that doing well on the IELTS isn't about luck. It's about preparation, strategy, and putting in the effort.
It's about being ready to show off your English skills.
Exactly. And the rewards are huge. Think about it. New experiences, new opportunities, a whole world of possibilities opening up to you.
Couldn't agree more. Now, we want to hear from you, the listeners. What's one thing you're going to focus on first to get ready for the IELTS? Maybe it's learning those high-frequency vocabulary words, or maybe it's practicing your speaking skills so you feel more confident. Let us know in the comments.
And don't forget to grab our free IELTS preparation guide. It's got even more tips and resources to help you on your journey. You can find the download link in the show notes.
So what are you waiting for? Get out there, start practicing, and get ready to conquer the IELTS.
Safest of luck to everyone on their IELTS journey. We're cheering you on.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of IELTS. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.